Welcome to another deep dive with me. Buckle up because today we're taking a trip to the year 2045.
2045.
Yeah, 2045. Our crystal ball for this journey is, it's this article. It's called The Future Unfolded, Predictions for 2045 and Beyond.
Okay.
And the author, well, he's a bit of a character, honestly. He's like a retired CEO, but now he's a LinkedIn influencer.
Ah, interesting.
Oh, and he also founded a religious organization called the Church of Unity Society, and somewhere in there he finds time to promote his son's solar energy company, all in this one article.
Well, that's quite the mix. It makes you wonder um, how his background might be influencing his view of what the future holds, right?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, we're basically getting one very specific perspective on 2045.
Yeah,
But hey, it makes for a pretty fascinating read, right?
I imagine so, yeah.
I mean, he dives into all sorts of predictions, like the singularity, radical life extension, human-machine hybrids. He even talks about the rise of a digital god.
Wow, those are some big concepts to unpack. Sounds like we have our work cut out for us.
We do. But lucky for us, I have an expert here to help us navigate all these mind-blowing ideas. Ready to dive into 2045?
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's start with this whole singularity thing.
Sure.
Now, just to refresh everyone's memory, the singularity is that point when AI, artificial intelligence, becomes way smarter than humans.
Right.
Our author, he believes that could happen by 2045, and he's backing that up by citing Ray Kurzweil's work.
Okay, I'm familiar with Kurzweil's prediction.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is that he throws in this quote from Proverbs. It says, "For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth comes knowledge and understanding."
Interesting. Almost seems like he's drawing a parallel between, divine wisdom and the potential of artificial intelligence.
That's what I thought too. And then he goes on to describe this world where we have mind cloud interfaces. We could download information directly into our brains.
So like instant knowledge access. No more studying or cramming for exams.
Right. But he also talks about this limitless problem-solving ability that AI would have, which got me thinking, if AI can solve any problem, then what problems are left for humans to even tackle, you know?
That's a really good question. It raises all sorts of questions about human purpose,
Yeah.
what we're here for, if a machine could just solve everything for us.
Just sex.
Like, he's painting this picture of a utopian future powered by AI, but he doesn't really address the potential downsides.
Yeah, like what if we become so reliant on AI that we lose our ability to think critically for ourselves?
Exactly. Or what if, we lose control of this super intelligent AI? The article didn't really go into detail about how we'd actually manage something that powerful.
Right, it's kind of unsettling to think about.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on from AI domination, the author's next prediction is radical life extension.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so he's envisioning a world where it's normal for people to live to 115 or even older, thanks to all these advances in things like biotechnology and nanotechnology.
So basically, we're talking about conquering aging.
Pretty much. But it makes you wonder what happens to our sense of time if we're living for centuries.
Right. Look, does time even matter anymore?
Yeah, does it? And what about the whole concept of mortality? You know, if aging isn't this looming inevitability, does it change how we live our lives? And he references a verse from Psalm 90.10, which talks about a human lifespan of 70 to 80 years.
It's interesting that he brings in that biblical perspective, almost like he's acknowledging the traditional view of lifespan, but then presenting this totally different future.
Yeah, it's this interesting contrast, but just practically speaking, like how would our society even function with people living that long? Would we still retire at 65? What would happen to work, relationships, everything?
It would definitely turn everything upside down. Like, think about the impact on resources, the environment. With so many people living for so long, could the planet even sustain it?
That's a great point. Okay, so we've got hyper-intelligent AI, and we've got people living for centuries, but the article goes even further.
Oh, there's more?
Buckle up, because now we're entering the realm of human-machine hybrids.
Human-machine hybrids. Wow, okay.
He's saying that by 2045, the line between humans and machines will be super blurry thanks to neural interfaces and all sorts of body enhancements, like robotic exoskeletons.
So we're talking about what? Merging with technology, becoming part machine.
Exactly. He even talks about uploading memories, downloading skills. Imagine being able to swap out a failing organ for a synthetic one, or just give your brain a boost with a chip implant.
It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. But it also raises a lot of questions about what it means to be human. Like, where do we draw the line?
I know. And he even references a verse from 1 Corinthians. It's 1 Corinthians 15.44, and it talks about this idea of the natural body being raised as a spiritual body.
It's like he's prompting us to think about the soul in this technologically advanced world. Like, what happens to our spiritual essence when our bodies become so integrated with technology?
It's deep stuff, right? But wait, there's one more prediction that kind of blew my mind. He talks about the rise of what he calls a digital god.
A digital god, huh? Okay, I'm intrigued.
It's this idea that as AI and data networks become more complex, they could eventually evolve into this omniscient, omnipresent force that basically guides humanity.
So he's suggesting that technology itself could become a form of divinity.
Exactly. And he hints that this could even be the fulfillment of ancient prophecies. It's almost like he sees technology and spirituality converging into something entirely new.
Wow, that's a lot to take in. We're talking about a potential paradigm shift in our understanding of intelligence, lifespan, and even spirituality. It's a lot to process, but I'm ready for the challenge.
Yeah, we've got a lot to unpack here.
I mean, it makes you wonder if AI could actually help us, understand the universe better, or even get closer to understanding God.
Yeah, or would this be something completely different, like a whole new type of spirituality based on data and algorithms?
Right. It's a big question.
It really is. Okay, but let's try to bring this down to earth for a second.
Okay.
If even some of these predictions come true, like how would it affect our everyday lives?
Well, one thing that immediately pops into my mind is work. If AI really can do most jobs better than humans, what happens to the job market?
Yeah. Do we end up with mass unemployment? Or will there be all these new jobs that we can't even imagine yet?
Right. The article kind of glosses over those economic implications. It's easy to get excited about the technology, but we have to think about the societal impact too.
Absolutely. And it's not just jobs, right? Like, what about relationships? If people are living to 150 or older, how does that change how we think about marriage or family or even just friendships?
Yeah. Imagine if till death do us part isn't really a thing anymore.
Whoa.
Would people have multiple long-term relationships over their really long lives?
And how would families work if you have 5 or 6 generations alive at the same time?
It would definitely change things. And, another thing the article sort of skims over is the issue of inequality.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if these technologies, the life extension, the enhancements, if they're only available to the wealthy, it'll just create a bigger gap between the haves and the have-nots.
It's like a sci-fi dystopia where the rich live forever and everyone else is just trying to survive.
Exactly. And even if everyone has access, what about privacy?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
If we're uploading our memories, our thoughts, to the cloud, who's controlling that information?
Right. What happens if there's a data breach? Or hacking?
We're talking about our memories, our experiences, basically who we are, becoming digital data. How do we protect something that personal?
It's scary to think about. It makes you wonder if all this progress comes at the cost of our freedom, you know?
Yeah. The article talks about AI guiding humanity. But what if it ends up controlling us?
Right. Who gets to decide what that guidance looks like? Who sets the ethical boundaries for this digital god?
It's not something we can just leave to tech companies or governments to figure out. We need to have these discussions as a society.
I think we need to be careful about blindly embracing these advancements without thinking about the consequences.
Yeah, we need safeguards, ethical guidelines, and open discussions about how much control we're willing to give up. And speaking of control, what can we actually do now to prepare for this future, even though it's so uncertain?
It's overwhelming to think about where do we even begin?
Well, I think the most important thing is to stay informed.
Oh,
We need to educate ourselves about these technologies, understand the benefits, the risks, and be part of the conversation about how they're developed and used.
so we can't just pretend it's not happening.
Right. Ignoring the issue won't make it go away. We need to be proactive.
Proactive, okay.
Think critically about the information we're getting and advocate for responsible innovation.
It sounds like a huge task, but it's exciting too.
It is. We have this incredible opportunity to shape the future, to make sure technology serves humanity, not the other way around.
Right. It's a good reminder that the future isn't set in stone. We can all play a role in creating it.
And it's also important to remember that the author of this article, he's just one voice. It's crucial to hear a variety of perspectives on what the future could hold.
Yeah, it's good to be open to different ideas and to be willing to challenge our own assumptions about what's possible.
Absolutely. The future is full of possibilities.
It really is. So we've talked about a lot in this deep dive. AI, life extension, human-machine hybrids, a digital god even. It's a future that seems both exciting and a little bit scary, right?
Yeah, no doubt. And I think one thing the article touches on, but we could probably dig into a bit more, is this whole idea of adaptability. Like, how do we actually become adaptable in a world where things are changing so fast.
That's a great point. It's not just about learning new skills, right? It's about being comfortable with not knowing what's coming next, being okay with things constantly changing.
Exactly. Like imagine your career changing every few years, or even every decade. You'd have to constantly be learning new things just to keep up.
He mentions uploading skills to our brains, which sounds super sci-fi. But if that became real, what happens to the value of actual human experience?
That's a really interesting question. Would we still value traditional education, or would we just download the skills we need?
Would we lose something important by skipping over the actual process of learning? The struggle, the effort.
It makes you wonder if there's some human element to learning and growth that technology just can't replicate.
Yeah. And another thing, he talks about ethics, but doesn't really get into specifics. Like, we need to be having serious discussions about the ethical side of all this technology before it gets out of hand.
I agree. Like with the digital God idea. Who gets to decide how that AI guides humanity? Who sets the rules?
Exactly. Those are questions we can't leave to just tech companies and governments to answer.
It's something we all need to be thinking about. Ethicists, philosophers, religious leaders, everyday people. Everyone needs a voice in this.
This whole deep dive has really been eye-opening. The future isn't something that just happens to us. We actually have the power to create it.
I couldn't agree more. The future is a blank canvas, and we can all pick up a paintbrush and help paint that picture.
Love that analogy. Well, thank you for joining me on this trip to 2045. And to all our listeners, we hope this deep dive has gotten you thinking about the future and maybe even feeling a little bit empowered to help shape it. Thanks for listening.